The Love Circle's mission is to create a space that promotes holistic healing by spreading wisdom. In our circle, we believe that there is freedom in knowing your purpose, and to heal our community, we start by healing ourselves, building relationships, and sharing wisdom.
Yeah.
Like, and understand, like, and you can't just accept that today and not accept it tomorrow if you're going to
Right.
still be dealing with them.
Right.
You know, and then, like you said, if you're only going to deal with them in a certain area, then deal with them in a certain area. And that's not, some people see that as, oh, that's fake or whatever. No, that's not.
Mm-hmm.
That's perfectly healthy, because if it's like you go to a trainer, you hire a personal trainer to go work out in a gym.
Yeah.
Like, that's a one-on-one relationship in one area.
Yeah.
So why can't you do that with other beings that you see walking across, you know,
Right.
this earth?
Like, you don't go to your dentist for your knee pain.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. But it's weird if, oh, this just my go out friend, or this just my, you know, we gonna sit and talk about the universe friend, or this just my, we gonna sit
Yeah,
and
girl.
write business goals friend. You need that, because like you said, we are all multifaceted. It's very rare that you have one person you can do all of those things with.
Yeah.
So it's not rational to me to think that all of your relationships are, you're supposed to be able to do everything.
Yeah.
That's not.
And you know, that's still something that I'm learning, because like I really get bored and frustrated with just the bare minimum conversation. So it's like so hard for me to just have casual friendships, because we're not just gonna, especially talking about politics and drama and stuff. I have no interest in that. Now, if you want to talk about the universe, then holla at me. If you want to talk about expanding, let's talk about that. If you want to talk about generational wealth,
growth, let's go.
Yeah, let's go. Let's do it. I'm here for it. But like, I love relationships that excite me. And I don't know if it's a bad thing, because everybody not really, oh, I like to talk about so and so. So it's kind of weird sometimes.
It's okay, because that's just, they may not be your peoples.
That's true. That's true. That's another thing that I'm learning. Like, you can't force everybody into your circle or your box. And that's something that I was trying to do for years, force people into my box, especially when I got to college. Like, growing up, I had people that I associated with in school, but I didn't have friends. So when I got to college and I had to learn how to build those relationships and have friends, like, I realized most of my friends weren't friends. They were just people that I liked to talk to. They were just trauma bonds. A lot were trauma bonds. So once I was unlearning all of these behaviors and stuff, we didn't have anything in common.
Nothing.
So, and that was something that I dealt with for a couple of years. Like, maybe the past 3 or 4 years, I dealt with that, trying to figure out, like, well, if this person not really my friend, and this person don't want to talk about the things that I want to talk about, and they're not trying to excel and exceed in the ways that I'm trying to, like, who are my friends? Who do I have? Like, who do I have in my corner? Like, why am I here if I don't have anybody to talk to?
Listen, that is man, that is something that I know a lot of people deal with that, but just speaking for myself, you know, sometimes we feel like, I don't know if it's just, sometimes I feel like I am so rare.
Yeah.
Like, I'm so rare in the love that I'm willing to pour out. I'm so rare in the way that I listen. I'm so rare in the attention that I give. I'm so rare in
the details.
Yes, like, and the way sometimes I just hunger for that same energy in the same way that I put it out, because people do give it back, but they give it back in the way that is comfortable to them. Yeah. their capacity, and just really wanting that companionship, really wanting that, feeling like you don't have, that friend that just you're on the same page, same level with all the time, that you could just really like go there with and be there with, and going through things that sometimes just wanting to do simple things. Sometimes I feel like you don't have that person that you could just call and be around and hang out with or just talk to. And loneliness can be a very, very, very hard thing.
Yeah.
It can be a very hard thing, but I try to remind myself that in those seasons that it's there for a reason.
Right.
That there's something that I either need to be working on, there's something that's being worked on in me that I can't see. Or sometimes there's something that's trying to push me outward, because friends don't fall out the sky. Like interactions,
That's true.
these
And I will stay in
people,
the house.
like,
I will
they not
definitely
gonna
stay in the
like
house.
just come to you.
Yeah.
Sometimes you have to be a friend to get a friend. You know what I'm saying? But I get it though. I definitely get it. And when you talked about like trauma bonds and stuff like that, especially in college and younger years, and before you really started focusing on removing those things that weren't really who you were, but you thought they were, it gets lonely, because as we ascend as beings, not everybody gonna pick that road.
Yeah.
And sometimes there are people that we really genuinely truly love and truly truly care about, and they can't go.
Yeah. And oh my gosh. When I tell you, that was a lot of my heartbreak, a lot of my pain. Like, it's people that I genuinely love. And when you talk about like pouring into people, I used to love so freely. And then I got to a point where I was like, you know what? I give love so freely. I want that in return. So then I started slowly like rescinding that love, if that makes sense. So it was like I still yearn for that connection, but I've gotten to a place where, because I know love doesn't come in the same package from everybody. So I had to learn, like, and I'm trying to unlearn this, because over the past maybe 5 or 6 years, I really got to the point where I just love a little bit. And I realized that's not who I am. Like, I give,
Yeah.
I pour my all into anything. When I say pay attention to small details, I pay attention to every intricate detail to a person. If I say that I love you, I pay attention to everything. And I want to pour into you and give you everything.
Yeah. Yeah. It was something you said that really just made me think. What did you just say? I mean, I heard everything you just said, but it was something you said that really just made me think. It'll come back. But no, like paying attention important, like every detail, like I'm the same way. Like I notice your food. I notice like people think about that, but I notice like if you wear your socks, like if you wear your socks all the way on, or one off, or halfway on, halfway off, if you like long socks, short socks. I notice like if you like drink your water a certain way, like I notice like it just be like random little things that I notice, like little sounds of frustration, little phrases you say all the time, like or things you do when you're frustrated, looks on your face, like I don't know what that is. And sometimes that can be a trauma response. Especially like I grew up in a home with an alcoholic, so I was kind of always on alert trying to analyze the situation. So my skills are super sharp because they were a safety measure at one point in my life. Like, so mine are a bit more heightened because of that, which
And then I
can
be
be a
trying to
good
figure
thing.
out, how do you differentiate between this is just my response because I always had to be on my toes, and this is who I am because I genuinely care and I love you.
Honestly, I think for me, I think it's always both.
Mm.
Because, and I have to say that loosely because I haven't been in every situation, but I feel like even in that situation, like having to learn how to be like that, have that heightened sense. If it wasn't in your capability to do so, if it wasn't in your being, you never would have.
Yeah.
You never would have done it to begin with.
Right.
Um, it can be a learned behavior, but no one taught you that necessarily because there are people in those situations and they didn't they respond in different ways where we become super or hyper alert. Some people just shut down. Some
Yeah.
people become super avoidant, because that's how they chose to deal with it, or that's how they chose to get through it. I think we do have to have a grace and a space because it can be both. Um, to perhaps, and that's me because I'm talking to myself now, to perhaps, understand that some people may not, that genuinely love us may not give that back. And it's healthy that they're not
Yeah.
as attentive as we think they should be.
I just had this conversation with my sisters the other day because they asked me what was the difference between my friendship with one friend and my friendship with the other friend. And I told them that it was because I know that this person has the capacity to understand me in all aspects of me. Okay. I know that this one friend has the capacity to accept me in all aspects of who I am, but I also understand that this friend could only meet me in this capacity, and that's okay. You still there? Hello, Daisha. Okay, now we're back. How did you get started with poetry? Jumping back into things.
Jumping back into it. Clearly, anyway, focus because I'll go down another tangent. The question was, how did I get started with poetry? I got started with poetry actually. I used to write poetry as a child. I did my first spoken word competition probably in the not 12th grade. I was 12. I wrote a poem for, I want to say something traumatic happened with the police in Atlanta. It's hard to remember now because there's just been so many of those. But I wrote a poem about being Black in America, and I performed it at a festival. Um, I wrote a poetry book actually in the 3rd grade, and then we published it when I was in the 4th grade. But it was more written for quite some time, just that one performance when I was 12 years old. And then when I went to college, there's this poetry organization at Johnson C. Smith University called the Black Ink Monks, and they were founded in 1994. And I I met a couple of the members on campus, and they asked me if I had any poems, and I grew up a performer, so I did theater acting. I went to a visual and performing arts high school, and so when they asked me, they taught us to be on go. Yeah. So I was like, yeah, I got a poem, and I just did my poem. I was like, oh, and so
she ready.
Yeah, so I ended up meeting them. There's a process to become a member that you go through, like training and stuff like that, and team building activities, stuff like that. And I ended up becoming a member, and it was just a beautiful experience. But they're also a very historic organization in Charlotte, North Carolina, and just in that poetry scene there, because they were founded because for the longest there was no in Charlotte. They were founded, like I said, in 1994. So for the longest there was no scene for African American poets, African American writers to come and not only discuss poetry, but discuss opinions and things going on and happening in the community. So they were really big on being communally active and community service. And that's how I got started doing. We did events with like the YMCA. We go to different schools in the same state and city, as well as we travel to different cities and different states to do poetry as well, to work especially with youth, and especially with youth that go through different struggles, trying to help them find their voice, as well as just helping them to expand to more productive forms of expression and things like that. And then also, we were a little bit of rebels. Like a couple of times we went to, especially when there were some ongoings in Charlotte again, surrounding our Black men and the police. Yeah. We would go into like Walmart, like stand up on stuff and like spit poetry. We got put on a Walmart, I think like twice, like, and then we just go outside.
So dope though.
Yeah, it made me fall in love with it there. Yeah. That's how I want to say I fell in love with it, because I was doing acting, I was doing stage, and it's fun, and it can also be just as proactive. However, quite frankly, the pieces are a lot longer, and you can write a play, but the things that sometimes that go into all of that, like the ability, spoken word for me is just a powerful tool to be able to communicate an idea or inspire in however brief or however long you choose, but in a brief moment, and you're still emoting, you're still giving, you're still showing these people, you're operating honestly as a catalyst for the energy to come through and hopefully them to connect to it. Yeah. But so it's still that stage thing, but it was just like the perfect marriage of writing and performance for me. Like, so that's how I got into it. I've just been running with it ever since, because it just felt like home as a writer and a performer. Yeah. And someone who cares about people. So, that's why I consider myself an empowerment artist, because all of my pieces literally, I remember one time I wrote a poem, and it was supposed to be sad, and I literally said to somebody, I was like, "Why are my poems always end happy?" I was like, "I don't understand. Like, it's always like a message at the end of it. Like, I don't get that." And it's like, bruh, that's me.
Yeah,
that's just who I am. Like, that's what I do. I have the gift of hope. I like to think of it as, like, no matter how bleak things get, like, it's gonna upswing. Yeah. It's gonna upswing.
That's dope. Like, something that I'm still trying to unlearn or unpack is like, I wish that I had those opportunities growing up. Like, I sing, but I don't sing in front of people because I'm not like the outspoken. I'm always the behind the scene person. So when I first started doing my podcast and doing poetry, I was like, girl, who in the hell is this? What are you doing? Like, I literally, everything that I do is a challenge because I'm fearful of doing it. So I challenge myself to step outside.
Okay, I gotta cut you right here because I have to talk to that voice.
Yeah.
Stop.
I know.
Like, that voice is trying to protect you.
Yeah.
That voice is trying to protect you. That voice is trying to keep you out of this perceived danger, but it's not danger.
Yeah.
It's not.
I think it's the vulnerability. It's like trying to protect you from well, I've been hurt so much. So it's like, if you do this, then you might get hurt. It might not be accepted the way that you think that it should be accepted. And I had to unlearn that. Like, I've been writing poetry since I was younger too, but I didn't start performing until maybe 2014. I'm trying to remember when I went to the first Creatively Crafted. I don't even know if they do Creatively Crafted anymore.
They do.
Okay, good. Mm-hmm. So I think it was like 2014, maybe 2015 was the first time I met Phil, Zay, Carlito, like all of them. So I was sitting there, and my friend at the time, Epiphany, she was like, "You should get up there," because I'm watching Phil and I'm watching I get the brothers Kareem and Hakeem mixed up. I can't remember which one does the poetry, but his name not Hakeem. I just renamed this boy. But anyway,
I haven't met them yet, so you good.
the Carmichaels, one of them is into. I think you I think he took a picture with one of them. Yeah. But anyway.
Oh, Kareem.
Yeah.
I don't know. I never knew his last name. Okay, yeah.
So GQ Smooth. He also has a radio show. Yeah. So I was watching Phil, I was watching GQ, I was watching Justin, all of them doing their poetry. And I'm like, dang, man. Which is why I asked you the other day, how did you come off the paper? Because everybody was just spitting. And I'm like, damn, I got some really dope pieces. If I come off of paper, the shit will really hit harder than what it's actually hitting now. And I know that I incite and evoke emotion now, but I know that it'd be 10 times better without me being on paper. But I was watching them perform and I was like, you know what? I should perform. And I performed and I was like, oh my gosh. I was shaking. Even to this day, if I perform, I still shake, sweat, the knee just be wobbling. But I did it. I got up there and I did it. And I realized like I did this poem full of Erykah Badu songs. So the poem is just Erykah Badu songs and lyrics. And that's one of the songs one of the poems that they always ask me to do every time I perform. And I'm like, bruh, people actually want to hear my stuff.
Yes.
People know my stuff. People request things from me. That's crazy. That's so crazy to me. So it really made me understand the impact that I actually have. Like my words are very impactful. How do I choose to use them? How do I choose to share it with the world? Because that was the whole point of me writing it. I didn't write it just to keep it in my phone. I mean, I have a book of poetry, but that's not the only reason why I have poems to be an author. Yeah. Like it's more to it. Why not share it?
Yeah. I will say I was blessed in the sense of very gifted to have my mother. It's like living in the house of Whitney Houston. Like my mother was a performer. Oh. She's a singer. Everything that I do, she did. She was more acting. My degree is in acting, but like acting was her thing, singing was her thing. She could sing the walls down. Okay, she sung with a lot of professional artists for her time, like Aretha Franklin, CeCe Winans. She did work with different movie soundtracks and things like that. Like my mom was definitely out there. So the performance gene was kind of like her. And like once I shared something, she was very much an idea woman. We're gonna, oh, you doing that? Oh, well, we finna do this right now. Like, come here, let me show you how to do this. Let me show you. Like, so me sitting in the back, in the closet with my poetry, absolutely not. As soon as she knew, it was you're tossed on the stage. Like, so
that's good.
I didn't have the freedom to be shy sometimes. And I say that because listening to you, it's like sometimes it's like I tell people all the time, like, yeah, I do this. But honestly, a lot of times after I perform, girl, I would hide me, please. Yeah. Is there a backdoor exit? Like I get shy after the fact. Yeah. I'm super nervous after the fact. It's the weirdest thing. But when you were talking about that voice, you know, that like, and you definitely touched on it. Like, yes, like it's I'm glad you pushed past it, and I'm glad you realize it, and I'm glad you see it for what it is. But the danger is staying in the box. Mm-hmm. Like the danger is staying in that box. And you have to be very compassionate sometimes with that. And I speak from experience. I had to be very compassionate with that part of me. Yeah. Like literally, I'm a therapy advocate. I went to therapy, and we literally had a session where like my therapist was like, "Can I talk to that voice? Like, can I just talk to that part of you?" Like, and he would ask me questions, and I would respond kind of like from that energy. And I realized like that part of me was just very, very scared and very, very, you know, traumatized for whatever reason. in a way of like the unknown and just what that looked like for me and what was going to happen. You know, like, this is scary. I don't know what it looks like for me to really pursue my passion. I don't know what it really looks like for me to be successful. I don't know what it really looks like for me to
we
lose
don't
the
know
weight.
people that's done
Yes.
it. That's what
I don't got no examples of this. Not that come from what I come from.
Yeah.
Not that look like me.
Yeah.
Like, so they should need to shut up, and she need to sit down, and she need to stay in this corner before something bad happens, because then we're gonna have to pick up all these pieces again, and we not going through that. We not getting hurt again. So we're gonna stay over here. You're wild. And it was like, no, you're wild. I get it. Listen, I get it. I understand why we're here, but it is so much more beautiful on the other side. And I have value. Like, I have value. You have value. Everybody has value. We all have a collective. We're all a part of one big collective, and we're all a fragment of the reflection. We all have a different piece. I call it of the light. I feel like we are all the light. And we all have a different piece of that light. And if your angle don't hit, it's something missing, you know, and we can do whatever we choose to do. Like, when I talked earlier about acceptance, like, we also have to accept that this life experience that we have is really a blank canvas. Like, it really is a blank canvas, and everything from having children to not having children, from getting married to not getting married, from being a doctor to being a plumber to being an artist, like, it's literally, your choice never goes away. You choose what experience you want to have in this life. You literally choose which way you want to walk. You choose, if you want to know what it feels like to be rich, you can choose to do, like, and when I say rich, I mean financially prosperous and having an abundance of overflow in the material, because I believe we all are rich, but that's another conversation. But you get to choose to put in that energy. You get to choose to not put in that energy. Like, it's literally all a choice, and nothing you experience, even though we go through sometimes the most ugly seeming and darkest things, that choice never goes away. And sometimes I feel like I would encounter things that feel like I still got to choose to get up after this. It's not fair for me to have to choose to get up, but it's not about it being fair. It's still a gift that you have. Like, it's still a responsibility that you have. Yes, you choose, and you have to change the I have to I want to. And that's something someone showed me, that just saying that, like, sometimes, I know I got to feel better. I know I got to get up. I want to. I want to get up. I want to feel better. I